In this video, we are going to break down a very popular model called the GROW model that's been around for several decades in the coaching world. And we're going to map the principles of transformational coaching onto this very popular model. And if you are currently a coach or you want to be a coach, especially if you want to be in the transformational coaching world, then I think the distinctions that we make are going to be really important and beneficial to you, as well as your clients. Because the better coach you are, the more clients you'll get. So cheese it, huh? You want to tell the story behind that shirt?
Are you hungry?
No.
I'm embedding
Had a
cheese.
burrito.
You want Cheez-Its? It's a really soft shirt. Like it's just a really soft t-shirt and I feel really good in it. And I do like Cheez-Its, but that's not why I bought it. But like classic Cheez-Its, you know how Cheez-It got extra, like Oreo got extra, and then they try to do like white cheddar or giant Cheez-Its or mini Cheez-Its, just classic Cheez-Its.
I don't know about all that stuff.
No?
No, because I'm an adult.
Oh, at least one of us is.
The GROW model. The GROW model. So we're going to talk about the GROW model, which is an acronym, and it is a relatively famous model. It's been around for a few decades. And before we get into the model, I think it's critical to understand the essence of coaching. I think there's this coaching versus therapy or coaching versus counseling question out there. I was going to say debate. It's not really a debate, but there's a question, just a kind of a natural comparison. How does coaching relate to other forms of similar kind of support that a lot of people are maybe more familiar with? And so the one that we hear most often is therapy or counseling. And this is not necessarily my philosophy based on experience. It's what we hear a lot of people say in the realm of coaching that actually helps them go forward, that a lot of people feel like therapy or some forms of counseling just focus on the problems and give labels or ways to cope with the issues or what have you. And I think a lot of people really want growth. They want to be able to hit goals and they want to be able to feel like they're making a lot of progress. So I think just at an essential level, the idea of growing is really critical in the coaching world. And I think coaching, and there are a couple different kinds of coaching that I'll talk about, but coaching is really about achievement of something for the most part. I think that's the most common connotation of it. You know, a lot of us understand coaches as it relates to basketball coaches or other sports coaches and things like that. So the whole point is to increase performance and achievement and so forth. And I think coaching as its goal does that. And then I think there are two different kinds of coaching, and there are many different kinds, but I'm just going to break it down into two just for the sake of simplicity. There's coaching that only focuses on the forward-facing motivation style achievement based on information. And then there's this other half of the spectrum that deals with the problems, deals with the challenges that people are having, the anchors in the ground that aren't allowing people to achieve by the recipes they're following and so forth. And so I think that is the holistic approach of coaching. So we still have the idea of achieving, but we have the capability of uprooting anything that's in the way rather than just focus on motivation and information. And I think that's the knock on just informational coaching and or therapy or counseling, is it just deals with one end of the spectrum, so to speak, but not the whole totality of what people really need. And obviously we believe that if you want to achieve anything in life, you got to be able to uproot whatever the weeds are, whatever the ingredients are in the recipe that need to change. So in the spirit of growth, this GROW model stands for goal, current reality, options or obstacles, and will or way forward. Anything you want to add to that before we get into the letters here?
I agree with what you said. I think that it's okay if you are, did you capture that? It's being recorded. I agree.
I will take that. Yes. I'll grab that. Instant blackmail material.
Just inside.
I like how that felt so foreign to your face that you immediately stopped. It's like short-circuited. Like, what?
What's happening? I think it's the magic is in the both, to what you were saying, that it's okay if you're just doing one or if you're doing the other. But if you have the ability to do both, then I mean the results are unlimited, right? And you'll be able to continue to work with your clients longer term, because you'll be able to keep helping them move forward, meet them with any obstacles or anchors or things that are keeping them stuck as they're continuing to grow, and then be able to do the work to help them unhook whatever has got them stuck in that moment. And it allows you to have a longer journey, I think, with your clients, instead of being blocked. Because if you're just focused on the one, on the information, on the success, and then they're not doing it, right? The client's not doing it, then we're kind of at a, is it called a stalemate?
Yeah. Or a standstill. Yeah.
Standstill.
Got nowhere to go.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a good point. And our ability to help people continue to uproot whatever it is that's in their way is a much longer lasting journey. So to be really clear, we're not teaching the GROW model as it has been taught. It's not like we're certified in that or anything like that. We're taking our philosophies that we have spent years and years and years picking up in coaching and just mapping them onto this GROW model, because I think the GROW model is a solid model and it's something that a lot of people are familiar with. And so we're going to take our coaching philosophies and maybe use a few different terminologies, different labels and so forth, but just map it onto this GROW model, because I do think it's solid. So the first letter is G, which stands for goal. You need a target to shoot at. I think goals they're undervalued and overvalued from different perspectives. I think they're undervalued because we hear about them all the time. Mm-hmm. We're taught how to set goals, most of us at an early age, at least a surface level. You write it down and then you put it in front of your face. Maybe if you've got that strategy and you want to see it, maybe you break it down and so forth. And I think because it is taught so often and it is kind of in our elementary learning around achievement, then I think we undervalue it because it's almost like it's diluted a little too much, right? But I think it's overvalued also from the standpoint that we put too much emphasis on just the having of the goal. And we think that if we have the goal, then we will naturally be inclined to achieve the goal, or we will be motivated to get the goal, or we will be disciplined enough to follow the steps to get the goal. And so I think the existence of a goal on its own certainly doesn't guarantee that the goal is going to be achieved. And then if you sort of add these two things together, if we've had a goal for a long time and we haven't gotten it, especially if it's a goal that we really want, so we want to continue to focus on that one particular goal, then we start to lose hope inside if we are constantly looking at the same target and we're not getting it. And then if we treat it as kind of elementary stuff, I guess it's like I learned that for a long, long time, that being the goal setting method or SMART goals or whatever. So I've learned this thing and I'm not achieving it. So then it's easy for a lot of us to just throw it all away. And I think that's where a lot of people are, where they don't realize that they actually have a lot of resistance to the ideas of goals or to the idea itself of goal setting, because we don't want to set ourselves up to fail again. But if we don't have hope to change it, because all the things we've tried before hasn't really worked, then why would we continue to just repeat the whole process? And there's a reason that it's elementary in its teaching, is because it's fundamental. It's a foundational concept that we do need a target to shoot at. So with coaching, the kind of coaching that we do, there has to be a reason. There's got to be some kind of angle. There's got to be a point to the call, or to a certain conversation, or to a certain exercise, or to somebody's mission, for the next 3 months or 6 months or 2 years or whatever it is. So there's got to be some kind of a target, some kind of a goal. And we use prep forms in our coaching sessions for the most part, where clients will say, okay, on this call, I want to talk about this, or this is really where I'm heading in my life, and either the prep form and or just the consultation in the very beginning, obviously you want to know where people are going. So starting with the goal gives us a place to focus on. And then we can light up the connection with the goal if that's important, because a lot of people have goals that they're really not connected to. They're really not motivated to go after, or they're not inspired to go after. So sometimes we help people get connected to that goal. Sometimes you might need to disassociate a little bit from the goal because people are putting too much pressure on themselves. You know, if I don't get this goal, then the whole world's going to collapse on me, or whatever other stories they're telling themselves.
Yeah.
And so starting out with the target, with a goal is critical.
Absolutely. Yeah. Where are we going? Right. What are we doing? Right. And this is, I think, in any interaction, right? I mean, we need the target without the pressure. Right. And one of the things that I learned, because I was definitely one of those people that you were describing that just kind of blew off the goals in general. Cause I'm like, I don't like the way I feel disappointed. I feel unhappy every time I set these, because I didn't understand that the goal was part of the process. It wasn't the point. And I made the goal like the end all be all. So then I put all this pressure on myself to have the right goal. I had to be going after the right thing. I had to be able to achieve it. Right. So, I mean, it was ridiculous. And I was just setting myself up to be in this continual state of misery. So then I just started to pretend that I didn't really have any goals at all, which actually isn't true. I don't believe. I think we just lose connection to them. And I stopped after a while, even having like a conscious awareness of my desires, of the things that I wanted, of the things that lit me up or that I was excited about, because of this pressurized goal that I put on myself. And when I learned that it was part of the process, it just opened me up to be able to say, okay, like, what am I doing here today? Here could be sitting at my desk. Here could be on this video with you. Here could be on an individual coaching call. Or if I'm making an investment in a coaching relationship, for what purpose? Why am I here? And that question, for what purpose, can help then drive the remainder of the session or the conversation.
Yeah. And another piece that we talk about quite a bit, we've learned just through our own experiences as coaches, especially, is that it's really critical to have enough clarity around the goal to, number one, get people connected and excited, as you said, but also to be able to know when the goal has been accomplished. So there's got to be some evidence around the boundaries of the goal. You know, a lot of people just have vague goals where they want to get healthier, they want to feel less heavy, or they just want to have more success or more clients. And those kinds of vague goals don't work at our unconscious level, because the mind really wants a clear target. So having a goal is critical. And then the second letter of R stands for reality, and it's talking about current reality. What is the current reality? This is essentially like checking in and taking a little bit of inventory, right? What's the recipe that you're currently using to try to get that goal? Assuming that it's a goal that you've had before, or a similar goal, what is it that we're working with? And if we don't understand the recipe, then it's really difficult to change any ingredients. And we need to recognize that our outcomes, our achievements, and the results are products of the recipes we're following. It's just that simple. We have behavior patterns, we have habits, and those essentially are the recipes that are going to produce whatever the results are in our life. And a lot of us don't want to look at the current reality because we don't like the fact that we don't have a strategy, or we don't like the fact that we might think that we have the right recipe, but we're still not producing the results, which means that it's our fault. You know, we're the problem. Or we might not actually have a strategy. We might not have a reality system that we're trying to follow in some way. Yeah. So we have to start with where we are. And a lot of us don't want to even acknowledge where we are. We don't want to acknowledge our current weight, or we don't want to acknowledge the money that we have in the bank account. It's like trying to operate a GPS system, but only having the target, only knowing where you want to end up, right? There's a reason that you have to tell the GPS system where you're starting from. If you don't have both of those points, then it doesn't matter how good your GPS system is. It's not going to work. So we need to know, we want to know as coaches, what's the current reality? What are you dealing with? What are you trying? What's working? What's not working? And also, what's your reality in terms of how you're seeing the world? Like, what reality are you creating for yourself? Because our experiences that we're creating or that we're having are based on the way we're looking at the world and the meanings that we're making of all the things out there. And we might have two people that have two completely different reality strategies, or two completely different worldviews, or two completely different internal systems of beliefs. And the way we support those two people are different because they have different realities internally as well as externally.
I love that. And it's about like inquiring to learn their reality. So this as a coach is really like an exploratory time for you, right? This is an opportunity for you to really check in, like you said, and learn how are they actually viewing things? How does the client actually see the world? How do they process things? What are the beliefs that they have? Really being curious about them. And inside of that exploration, and I'll speak as somebody on the client side, when I was holding shame around, and I'll just use money as an example here, there were quite a few things that I could choose from that I was holding shame around. But when I was holding shame around my finances personally, somebody else inquiring and asking me questions felt like they were attacking me.
Yeah, it was a threat.
Absolutely. Because I didn't like the answer to the question, which was oftentimes, I don't know. I don't have a system for that. I'm not sure how much money I brought in. I'm not sure how much debt I have. And I felt as a grown up, right, as somebody in their late 30s, early 40s, I should know. So I was putting the shame on that. And so when somebody else was asking me those questions, it did not feel good to me. And so talking to the coach that's listening to this, it's important for us to know that. So to explore and be understanding, right, with compassion, that it's likely that if we are asking them questions that they've not asked before, because most of us prefer the ostrich with the head in the sand approach to our lives, especially with the things that we don't love or we aren't really happy about, the things that we want to change, then it's going to be uncomfortable for us to pull our heads up. And as the client, it's important for us to remember that the purpose of this is not to shame us. We got to pull everything out on the table. I think of it like a puzzle, right? So if you have a puzzle that's in the box, before you can start building the puzzle, before you can begin to create the picture that you see on the top of the puzzle box, you got to take the lid off and you got to dump all the pieces out. Because we have to know what we're working with before we begin. And that to me is the purpose of checking in with, okay, what's up? What's up for you right now? What's going on in your world?
And yeah, there can be resistance, could be shame, could be embarrassment, what have you, when you start exploring the land of the I don't know. But that's where growth occurs, is in those places where you don't know. So it's actually a good thing if you want to achieve something and the way to there is something you don't really know. So assessment tools can be good for coaches to start, like some kind of a diagnostic tool. We teach something called the 10 essential environments for people to recognize where are they in all these different environments in their life. And then it gives somewhat of a path, a potential path at least to follow in the coaching, but it also allows people to check in with like a reality check of where they are right now. And then it'll give a measuring stick going forward, so that 2 months from now, if you assess your financial environment as a 7 and before it was a 5, then it feels like progress. And that tangible progress is something that's really important for a lot of people. The O stands for options or obstacles. So what are the potential blocks? We have this goal. We know that we know the reason that we want to do it. We're understanding where they are right now in the current reality and all that. But a lot of people don't spend enough time or energy recognizing what could cause potential failure. And going back to the GPS system, if I'm starting here and I'm trying to get there, I need to know if there are any obstacles in the way. If there are obstacles in the way, then I need to go another route. I need to take a detour. I need to handle whatever those obstacles are. And I think a lot of people think that motivation will just be a set of blinders that you can just power through things with. And if you're just motivated enough, then you'll be able to overpower your internal beliefs or your internal conflicts or these energetic anchors that are actually holding us. I was thinking the other day, I'm teaching my son how to drive a manual car. And I haven't driven a manual in a long, long time. So I've got this third pedal, the clutch, that I'm now, aware of. And it just got me thinking a little bit, like, because I was trying to teach him how you release the clutch, but then you put the gas in, right? And if you put a bunch of gas in there and you put the clutch down, then the gas won't do anything. And if you just pull them both out, then the car will die, et cetera. So just kind of going back and forth. And we were talking about which one of these is actually more important, if you want a smooth start or if you want to go fast or whatever. We were on a little bit of a decline.
Oh,
and that's tough, especially when you're brand new, learning how to drive a
the trauma.
Yeah, I know. I just saw that. Like, oh. And so I was telling him that one of the things you could do is use the parking brake so that you could still maneuver the pedals like before. But if you have the parking brake up, then your car's not going to go anywhere. And then once you got some gas in there, you can slowly release the parking brake. And I just started thinking later on that night that that's just so much about, like, that's how life works too, right? And what's actually more important in our life journey? Is it more important to put the pedal to the metal on the gas, or is it more important to undo the parking brake? And in so many areas, it's actually a lot more important to undo the parking brake. If you release the parking brake, if you get rid of the things that are holding us back, that could be severe fears or traumas or just conflicts or whatever it is that is in the way, if we can remove those, then we will probably get further along than if we just try to motivate ourselves over those. And I think that's because at some point in time, those things are going to stop us. So if we don't work on removing any of those blocks, then at some point it'll all come crashing down. And if you think about a building, you build like 4 or 5 stories high. If that is the weight that's going to then overpower whatever the strength of the foundation is, then all 5 of those stories are going to come down. And if the foundation isn't strong enough to support however high of a building you want to build, then that means at some point you'll reach your tipping point and then it'll all come down, right? And I think we all have that for the most part with these internal blocks. If we don't learn how to remove the restriction, remove the power that they have on us, at some point it's going to stop us. So identifying the options, but then actually going and being able to do the work, do the internal work. We teach neurotransformational coaching. So can you actually take a belief and change the belief? And the answer is yes. Can you take trauma and dissolve the trauma? Yes. Can you express suppressed feelings that were in your body for decades? Yes. So we can actually do a lot of these block removals, and so many of them are energetic. And then the freedom that people feel once that work is done just opens up a whole new level of possibility.
Yeah, I love that. Lift in the parking brake. I mean, eventually, won't it flood out your engine?
If you just
keep trying to drive.
Yeah.
And
it'll do some damage, that's for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's expensive to fix. And on the flip side of that, so within the obstacles, once we've been able to lift the parking brake and do a lot of that work, is just exploring with curiosity the possibility of the options. And a lot of us, I know that I have been this way, and a lot of the people that I work with, have similar stories. We get so focused on the one way. We think that the thing that we're trying to achieve has to be done in this one way. We've mapped it out, we've decided it, and that's great. It's one possibility, but oftentimes there are tens or hundreds or thousands of possibilities for us to achieve the thing that it is we want to achieve. And if we can ask ourselves, like, what are other possibilities? What are other options? What else is possible here? Even if, and I would actually say, especially if it doesn't seem logical or it doesn't seem possible, just to get your brain in that exploratory state and place of what else is possible. How else might I achieve this goal? Because if I'm focused on, say I want to take a coaching program and I don't have the money to be able to do it, a lot of times I might just say, oh, well, that's it. That's the end. I don't have the money. That's the only thing. But there are so many other options and possibilities of being able to get the financing or have somebody loan you the money or gift you the money or create a product that you sell or sell something in your home. I mean, there's just so many possibilities that we don't naturally think about. And it's important for us to intentionally turn that on and explore everything that's out there for us in more of a creative way.
Yeah, that's a really good point about people just locking on to a certain way to do it. And then they stay stuck on that way and not open up to the possibilities of another way. And finally, the fourth letter here is W. And that is about finding a way forward and finding your will. You talk about willpower all the time in these achievement conversations and motivation. And it's important. There has to be a purpose, as you said earlier, to the goal. And there also needs to be a path to the goal. So what are you actually going to do? What are the steps that you're going to take? Now, I think probably most people have a goal, but are you wagging your tail?
I am.
Okay,
I
good.
was like,
that looks amazing.
is it more believable now? For the star of the show for me.
I will never unsee that.
You're welcome.
What were we talking about? We're talking about golf. We're talking about Cheez-Its.
The will and the way forward.
The way forward. Oh my goodness. Perfect. So there has to be a path. And I think most people have a goal, but they don't have a path that they believe in, or even a path that has the potential to achieve the goal. And what we then do is we just stay stuck on the goal. And so many of our goals are not anything that we can control. So we want to make a certain amount of money, or we want to sell a certain amount of products, or we just want to, achieve whatever this progress is that we want. But we haven't told our brain exactly how to do it, or the achievement of the goal requires other people to say yes. We see this in sales all the time, in business all the time, where people go, okay, my goal is to get 5 coaching clients this month, or I want to sell 100 things, or I want to make $30,000 this year, or whatever it is. And that's fine as a target, but you have to understand that you don't fully control that 100%, because other people need to say yes. So what is it that you do control? What is it that you can focus on, or your team can focus on to get in motion all the actions that can hopefully produce that goal? And that controllable list of activities is something that so many people are really missing out on. And then what happens is it just adds to the pressure. Yeah. So if every conversation needs to produce a client, that's going to be really tough, versus if every conversation requires you to be present, or you want to be really clear in offering whatever it is that you're going to offer. You want to stay inside of a certain time limit, let's say. All these things that you can control will likely produce a client, but not all the time. And so when you do the things that you can control, but it doesn't produce the outcome that you want, we don't want that to be emotionally devastating in any way. Because if it is, then it's going to be harder to need to motivate yourself next time to do another set of activities, or one activity that, again, might not give you the results that you want, but it's because you don't actually have control over it. So we always want to make sure our clients have clear paths to follow, as clear as possible. And sometimes that is really easy. It's like make 10 phone calls or send out X number of emails or something. And sometimes it's not, it just depends on the conversation that we're in. The clear path to take could be like spend an hour outside and just contemplate whatever it is that you're grateful for, right? So it might not be super tangible a lot of times compared to other paths, but we definitely want to have something to do, because the only way for us to get from wherever we are to any other place is to do something.
Right.
And we miss that sometimes. Like we forget sometimes that either there are other steps that we have to take before we get to that goal, or that we even need, some kind of tangible way to keep us going. I think that's another piece of that. The human really likes affirmation that you're doing a good job, that you're making progress. And if we don't have this list of things to do, if we don't have the action steps, then it doesn't give us a way to measure that we're actually taking steps forward and that we are doing a good job.
Going back to what you said at the very beginning, it also gives us the ability to celebrate when we have that clear way forward and we know, okay, so I'm going to do this. This is when it's going to be done by, right? This, if I need to get help or bring somebody else in to do it, I'm going to delegate this to them. This is when they're going to have it by. If we don't have the path or those deadlines, then we don't get the opportunity to celebrate when it's actually been achieved either. So it's really important.
You're starting to bark over there now.
Well, it happens.
Yeah, when you start wagging your tail, pretty soon you're just going to start barking also.
Yeah.
So this is the GROW model. Again, it's not the official teaching of that model. It's our overlay of coaching philosophies and certain concepts into this model, because it is important to have these 4 pieces in the process of evolution, in the process of growth. We do have a model that's specific to the coaching that we do. It's called the IGNITE framework, where IGNITE is an acronym, and each one of those are steps to a coaching interaction, whether it's a single phone call, or you can even put together a live event on this, or a coaching program on it. And it's really about transformational coaching. So if any of you are interested in transformational coaching and you want a framework or you want to get a certification, then check out, we'll put a card up here and there'll be a link down in the description. Check out the IGNITE framework so that you can see from a coaching standpoint the specific steps that are important to help a client take significant action toward the goals, as well as do whatever inner work needs to be done and continue to make progress. So check that out. And if there's anything that we can support you with individually, we do coaching consultations all the time. And it's a way for you to get clarity on any aspect of coaching, whether it's inner work like confidence and certainty, or external work like strategies and how to build a business. We do free consultations, and you can sign up for that in the link below. Now, if you like this video, check out that video. It's the entire first module of our paid online certification program, all about coaching with more confidence. And I've witnessed tons of similar kinds of transformations. So that is what this program is all about.